Glass Onion is Rian Johnson's latest murder mystery film about a group of old friends who are now successful coming together on a private island for a murder mystery game. Rian Johnson does a great job establishing the plot and the story and having each character play a critical role in it. Aside from Helen, Andy, and Blanc, the characters in this movie can be split into two categories. Charismatic dumbasses who want to get more rich and famous, aka Duke, Birdie, and Miles, and their more intelligent enablers, which consists of Whiskey, Peg, Lionel, and Claire.
Will you explain it to us then, Detective?
Let's break it down. Starting with Madeline Klein as Whiskey, she ends up being good in the movie. Whiskey isn't part of the original Disruptors, but is there because she's Duke's girlfriend. Whiskey is looked at as more of a secondary character in the movie. She even mentions her importance when everyone's together.
I mean, when they're all together, it's kind of the worst. Duke just treats me like arm candy and they just ignore me.
And Whiskey is categorized as an intelligent enabler because she's responsible for helping Duke as his assistant. And it's quite possible that Duke wouldn't be able to function at all if it wasn't for Whiskey. Also, while she's helping him, she has her own dreams and goals.
Why do you put up with it?
With Duke, I'm building my brand. And he's putting me on his channel more often.
And Rian Johnson does a nice job making her a key layer in the movie by giving her character an objective for being here as well.
Oops, sorry, feminist.
Sorry, feminist.
Next, when it comes to Jessica Henwick as Peg, she's also good in the movie. Similar to Whiskey, Peg is the assistant to Birdie J, whom probably wouldn't function without Peg as well, as the movie does a nice job going over the history that Peg has been tasked with when it comes to cleaning up Birdie J's bad publicity.
Because she's afraid that I will tweet an ethnic slur again.
Also, similar to Whiskey, Peg has dreams of her own, and in a way, she looks up to the Disruptors. When Miles was serving everyone drinks, he simply gave Peg a disposable cup while everyone else had a drink with a name on it. And this, one, shows how Miles thinks of her.
Duke! Hey, buddy. This is a dream.
And two, that she writes her own name on a cup in Sharpie, showing in a way that she wants to be like him. And this is another great detail that Rian Johnson includes in a movie, which helps with the exposition of these characters better than any dialogue could.
Really, Duke?
Oh my God!
Really?
Next, when it comes to Dave Bautista as Duke, he ends up being entertaining in the movie. Bautista does a nice job displaying Duke as a charismatic dumbass trying to get more rich and famous. And the character is written well in the movie. Starting with the mask or the lack thereof that Duke was wearing during the dock scene, it does well to showcase the type of character he is right off the bat. And as if the message in the beginning wasn't enough, the movie displays how misogynistic he is.
And the answer is no, Jimmy Kimmel. I do not hate boobs.
And how much he doesn't care in a very short period of time. And then throughout the movie with him trying to get Whiskey to seduce Miles for his own personal gain. Next, when Miles was serving drinks, his and Duke's drinks was an old-fashioned, which is looked at as more of a manly drink. Also, funny enough, the drink has whiskey in it, which also hints that both of them share a relationship with Whiskey the girl. Also, a hidden detail highlighting Duke and the other Disruptors' relationship with Miles is when Duke is talking about the breastification of America.
We're talking about the breastification of America.
Which goes with what Helen said about the Disruptors being dependent on Miles.
That is the common thread here. Every single one of you is holding on for dear life to Miles Bryan's golden titties.
And ironically, his obsession with social media led to his death. Next, when it comes to Kate Hudson as Birdie J, she ends up being entertaining in the role. Birdie J's personality is displayed well throughout the movie through numerous details. First, just like Duke, Birdie J wasn't wearing a mask. She was more using it for style than protection. And if that's not enough, the huge party in the beginning is a big clue of how she felt about the pandemic and the restrictions that came with it. Birdie J is the person in the group that always says what's on their mind no matter how offensive it is. She also likes being the center of attention and sweet, which makes sense for a drink choice. Birdie J makes her own drink which represents that, and also includes pineapple which represents how sweet she is. The movie also does well going over the conflict that Birdie faces because of her rash decisions. She was able to get over past mistakes because of Peg's strategy.
We will do what we always do. Deny, half apologize, and then go silent a while. I will handle this.
But with a bigger issue resulting in child labor laws coming up, the movie does a great job having that relate to Miles, which is him having her take the blame for it so it'll cover his ass.
I'm Birdie, Bangladesh. Sweetie pants are manufactured there in a sweatshop. You're making Birdie take the fall to cover your ass as the main investor.
Also, this agreement shows how stupid Birdie is too, because once the story is out, the shares that Miles promised her from the stock will likely be down because of the controversy. So this is just an example of how the character of Birdie J is written well and ends up being a good layer in the movie. Next, Leslie Odom Jr. is great in his role as Lionel. Lionel highlights the intelligent enablers category as the scientist of the group. Lionel does his job of making Miles' schemes a reality, while at the same time also dreaming of changing the world for the better, and the movie does well displaying the character. Starting with the mask, Lionel has an N95 mask, basically showing his identity as a scientist. And then when Miles serves him his drink, he gets a scotch, neat, which also reflects his identity.
Like a Rule 16.
He likes it heavy on the beat.
Serve it up neat.
Also, the movie does well reflecting Lionel's relationship with Miles, starting with his lapel pin, which is a gold wishbone. Like everyone else on the island, he's relying on his relationship with Miles to keep going. But the darker theme of this is only one person who pulls the wishbone receives a wish. But by never telling Miles no, Lionel never risks anything in their relationship. And the movie does a nice job showing how Lionel is forced to enable Miles because he works for him and he has all the money. Next, Kathryn Hahn is another great inclusion as Claire. Claire is another person in the intelligent enablers category due to her relationship with Miles. Claire is displayed as a left-wing politician that cares about the environment.
I'm a hard light on climate change. If that scares you, go stick your head back in the sand.
She tries to be strict with her mask, and she's worried about how the vacation will make her look. Not to mention how she feels she's going to lose her base because of Miles' mineral.
When this thing breaks, poof, my whole base is gone. The grassroots lefties, gone.
Also, she's displayed well as a suburban mom, which highlights her drink of choice, which is white wine.
Claire Bear, room temp white.
The movie also writes her relationship with Miles well by having him be the main donor in her campaign.
And we know who bankrolled Claire's campaign.
Which is a good reason why she's a part of the Intelligent Enablers group. Next, when it comes to Janelle Monáe as Andy and Helen, she ends up being a great casting as she does well establishing the personalities between both sisters. The movie also does a nice job creating a nice backstory for not only Andy, but Helen as well, to help the movie make sense as to why only one disruptor knows about her.
You told me about Helen, your sister. Oh, wait!
The movie does a great job giving Helen a backstory of being a teacher in Alabama.
What do you do in Alabama?
I teach 3rd grade. So a lot of zooming.
Which helps her deal with the disruptors because they act like overgrown children. Also, the other hints which provides a reason as to why she's so good at figuring out people's motives. When Helen and Blanc was talking to each other, Helen mentioned Blanc must be good at the game Clue.
Hey, this kind of looks like that Clue notepad.
Yes.
You must be really great at Clue, huh?
Which is a game that she and her students play.
My students love it.
Blanc says,
I'm very bad at dumb things. My Achilles heel. Ticking boxes, running around, searching all the rooms. It's just a terrible, terrible game.
But Helen turns out to be great at the game and she uses it to find out motives. There's also other subtle clues in the difference in sisters, as Helen parts her hair on the opposite side as Andy does, which makes sense because she's always seen from a mirror image. And even though Andy is in the movie less than Helen, the movie still does well showing Andy's personality in a short period of time, which was as the leader and the most sophisticated. And this again is highlighted by her drink when Miles serves her, which is a scotch and soda. Next, when it comes to Edward Norton as Miles Brawn, he ends up being great in the role. Norton does a nice job displaying Miles as a person that wants to always be the most important or most impressive person in the room. And this is evident due to every opportunity he gets to talk about who he knows and who he has connections to. Not to mention him dressing how he wants to be perceived. Just like with the other characters, the movie does a nice job dropping clues as to who Miles is as a character. He comes off as a charismatic and smart leader, but between the lines, the movie shows something else. First, when Miles is playing the song Blackbird on the guitar, the song partially reflects the civil rights unrest in 1968, which ties into Miles, a white man, tricking Andy, a black woman, out of her company. Second, Miles himself works well as an example of the disruption theory in action. His acceleration of his company's innovation ultimately leads to his downfall. Also, the disruptors joining in Helen's smashing of Miles' glass sculptures.
Oh, really?
Shall we join in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You go.
Yeah, I think we should. Hey, Miles!
Only to then pull back when she goes after the Mona Lisa, parallels his speech about the disruption theory earlier. Everyone celebrates when someone is brave enough to start breaking aspects of the status quo that are trivial and people wanted to go to begin with, until the disruptor goes too far and starts breaking things no one wants to see changed. And third, the movie even throws in the cliche of Miles having Newton's cradle on the desk, which is a visual nod to his stranglehold he has over the disruptors. The movie also does well dropping clues of Miles' idiocy, from him actually killing Andy himself to him scheduling this right after killing her. It also seems rather fitting that Miles' ultimate downfall is Helen burning something that has significant value to him, right in front of everybody while he could do nothing about it. And just earlier, Miles himself did the same thing to Helen by burning Andy's napkin. So overall, the character is written well by Rian Johnson, and Edward Norton is great as the character. And lastly, when it comes to Daniel Craig as Blanc, he continues to be great. Just like the other characters in the movie, Rian Johnson does a nice job including a backstory of Blanc that goes well with the movie. Since the pandemic, he's been feeling down due to the lack of cases.
No. Look, I appreciate what y'all trying to do for me here.
We're worried about you, buddy. Lockdown hasn't been easy for any of us.
And the movie provides a good justification as to why Blanc is willing to go to the island for Helen. The movie also continues to do well, just like Knives Out, in capturing the style of Blanc. From the mask, which is safe and stylish, to the outfit. Rian Johnson also does well, including subtle hints that Blanc had a plan from his arrival on the island. When Blanc was telling Miles about the glass onion metaphor for how things seem complex, but actually aren't, he was also telling him he ruined his game on purpose and warned him that someone could ruin him. And the funny thing is, he wasn't lying either. He was talking about him and Helen. Also, when Blanc loses at Among Us, he says to the group,
I don't need puzzles or games. The last thing I need is a vacation. I need danger, the hunt, a challenge. I need a great case.
Yet all the puzzle boxes that the Disruptors got promised a murder mystery party. So the fact that Blanc goes along at all is the first clue that there's more to the plot right off the bat.
Blanc, there's someone here for you. With a box.
So there you guys have it. That's my glass onion character analysis. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, and also let me know which video you want to see next. But until then, this is Joshua Freeman. This has been Joshua vs. Movies. I'm going to see you guys in the next match.